Last week we looked at the microscopic anatomy of the kidney. Very complicated. This week, let's follow the path of urine down the ureter. Very simple, should be quick. We were looking at nephrons last week, so we were looking at kind of the active component, the filtration component of the kidney. Let's just start off with the kidney again. Very, very brief look at where the urine collects. So like the urine collecting side of the kidney, because it's a bit different. And then we can follow it down to the ureter. Ureter is very interesting because of kidney stones. One of the most painful things somebody can experience. So let's have a look at that tube, at those structures that are responsible for all of that pain, shall we? Okay, so, oh hang on, where was our kidney section we were looking at? Here it is. It's obviously not a human kidney because I can fit the whole kidney on the slide. The cortex is around the outside, the medulla's in the middle, and actually this is going to look a little bit different to a human kidney, but we'll look at where the urine is collecting at the tip of that point there. Okay. So I'm at my lowest power. There's the outer edge of the kidney. So there's the cortex, sliding down into the medulla. We can see all those medullary rays. Let's turn down the brightness a little bit. And so urine is collecting in these collecting ducts, and it's passing down these ducts. Urine, 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 duct, 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 and we have papillary ducts. And these ducts then are going to open at the tip there. And the space you can see is the space that's going to collect the urine. So if we were looking at a human kidney, we would call this a minor calyx, the small space. This is a urine collecting space, and those minor calyces would meet in a larger space, a major calyx, and then those major calyces would lead into the pelvis being the largest and the last collecting space in the kidney, and that's where the ureter starts. The PUJ, the pelvico-ureteric junction, and various variations on that arrangement of those three words there. But the core concept here, the important idea, is that where we have urine, we have an issue. We have something that we need to deal with. We need to keep the urine from going back into the body. So the kidney has done all that hard work in filtering out stuff you don't want, keeping the stuff that you do want, chucking in a whole bunch of waste things in the urine so that you can excrete it, right? You wouldn't want that stuff getting back into the body, like, you know, osmosising back into the body. So whenever we find a urine collecting space, we find a very special epithelium. And it's special and interesting for a number of reasons, which I'll talk about later, and I guess next week we'll look at the bladder. But if that side there is the medulla, that's where the urine's coming out of through all those ducts, and it's collecting into that space there. This side here, this is where we find the urothelium. So wherever you find urine collecting, it should be up against a urothelium, which is a version of a transitional epithelium. It's a special epithelium. And we can see that we've got multiple layers of cells there, supported by lots of connective tissue and usually muscle. This is a somewhat stretchy area, and then it's up against a whole lot of fat cells and what have you. Right, so that's the urine collecting part of the kidney. The urine will go from there into the ureter. So he told you I'd be quick. Let's have a look at the ureter. It's very pretty though. Ureter. Okay, it's tiny. Here's the ureter. Again, I don't know what animal this is from. This is a collection of slides that was bequeathed to me. Lucky you guys. Look at that. It's a little tiny dot. That is the ureter. But to be honest, the ureter in humans is also very small and would easily fit on this slide if I cut it in cross section. Like all good tubes in the body, it's made up of a number of layers so that it's nice and strong and it can do its job. Okay. I can see this. I can see the spot. Wow, look at that. Looks like a tiny esophagus. So this is, the objective lens I'm using is 4 times magnification, and then I have 10 times lenses to my eyes, giving me a total of 40 times magnification. The magnification you get will vary depending upon the size of your display. This also looks like another beautiful Masson's trichrome stain. We can see the lumen in the center, and it's very, very folded. So it's in its smallest state. The green there around it is connective tissue. So then the layer closest to the lumen, closest to the center of the tube, that is our epithelium. That's urothelium again, a transitional epithelium. And then we have, around the outside, we have lots of muscle. So the ureter is a muscular tube. How focused have I got that for you? It's a bit tricky at this low power. So there are layers of muscle there. It's a bit like the gastrointestinal tract, but I think the layers are the other way around. The inner layer is longitudinal and the outer layer is circular. This is because, let's jump up to a higher power. This is because the ureter is a muscular tube. It can propel urine along this lumen. It doesn't need gravity. It's not a gravity-fed system. When you're led down, the ureters can carry urine from your kidneys to your bladder. This is important. When you're in space, it can do the same job. You need to move the urine away from the kidneys no matter what. The kidneys, they're very delicate. We were looking at the cells last week. We got some very delicate structures in there. Some very careful pressures are being regulated. This is why you must empty your bladder. This is why you've got that sensory system that really compels you to empty your bladder, because you don't want urine to collect in your bladder and then backflow up the ureters to the kidneys, because you're going to damage your kidneys. And if you damage your kidneys, that can kill you. Your kidneys are crucial for carefully balancing the amount of water and salts inside your body so that every cell in your body works. But like the GI tract, we can talk about a mucosa. So the purpley cells there, that's our urothelium, the epithelium. And the bluey greeny layer there, that's the lamina propria. So the green is staying in the connective tissue, so we can see lots of connective tissue supporting the urothelium, and together those two make up the mucosa layer. And in that lamina propria we can see little circles. We've got lots of little blood vessels and what have you. So the ureter has a good blood supply and has lots of nerves. Let's go and look at the urothelium, because that's the really interesting bit. Now, there are very few actually stretchy things in the body. And we can see here that this is the squished form of the tube. So one of the ways this tube gets bigger is by these folds flattening out, right? But on a microscopic level, okay, let's see if I can find a good bit. Well, they're all good bits. That's a good bit. I'm jumping up to my highest power now. This lens always feels a little bit soft, no matter what I try and do to. It's good, but it's a bit soft at times. Right. So there's our urothelium. So this is an epithelium. It's a form of epithelium. Now these cells in the urothelium, we've got multiple layers of cells. So this is a stratified epithelium, and the cells in the different layers are slightly different shapes. The cells closest to the green, the cells closest to the lamina propria, there's a basement membrane there. Those are the stem cells that will keep replacing the cells that are closest to the lumen and get lost. The cells in the middle layer, those cells are really good at proliferating. So the stem cells make new cells and then they proliferate and you get lots of cells. But the cells nearest the lumen, the cells nearest the white, the superficial layer, these cells form an excellent barrier. They are all linked together tightly and they form a barrier between the urine and everything else behind them. So they stop the water, the salts, the nasty things that you're trying to excrete from your body. They form the barrier between the body and the urine, and that's why they're so special. Now these cells, if I roll around, they look, as we go around curves and what have you, they're slightly different shapes. But these cells they're quite fat, right? They are cuboidal or columnar. So that we're in the relaxed position at the moment. There's no urine distending the ureter. There's nothing in here, right? This is the relaxed state. When the ureter is being stretched, these cells will all thin out. These cells can actually stretch. So these cells can become squamous cells. So they'll change their shape. Instead of being cuboidal like this, or rounded as many of these cells are. In fact, typically a urothelium has very rounded cells on its surface. But as the ureter stretches, these folds will straighten out, will flatten out, and these cells will become thin and flat, like squamous cells. So that is how the ureter distends, which of course is great if you want to pass fluid down here. But this is what's happening if you've passed a kidney stone into your ureter and you're not having a good time, is that this is all being stretched. Now there are mechanoreceptors in here and there are chemoreceptors. I don't think it's all entirely understood yet, but the mechanoreceptors are receptive to stretch, and these receptors are important in organising peristalsis, so in organising the contraction of the muscles here to propel the contents down the lumen towards the bladder. So this is an important autonomous system in squeezing everything along, right? You have circular muscles that squeeze the contents along, and longitudinal muscles shorten the tube to push everything along. And there are chemoreceptors in here that are sensitive to ischemia, reduced blood flow, and to inflammation. So when a kidney stone passes into the ureter and blocks the ureter, while the kidney stone itself is stretching everything, you get a backflow of urine behind this, which is stretching everything, it's causing inflammation. Everything's very unhappy, lots of pain sensors are firing, and this is incredibly painful. And the reason the pain changes, so this muscle is also excellent at propelling a kidney stone down this tube, because it's a strong muscle. This is its one job, is to push things along. So this strong muscle can push the kidney stone along the ureter. So that's how the ureter moves from the kidney end of the ureter down to the bladder end. And because the ureter receives different nerves at different points along its length, because it runs from the posterior abdominal wall all the way down to the pelvis, the pain will move with the kidney stone. So we get this, we teach medical students the loin to groin pain, right? Now the lamina propria here in green is fibroelastic, it is stretchy. So you've got elastin fibres in there, so it can stretch and continue to support the urothelium. And look, you can see, hopefully you can see those little tiny blood vessels in there. They've got a couple of red dots in there. Those are red blood cells. So we've got some small blood vessels in there. There will be nerves in there as well. And you can see that as we go to the edge, it continues around there like that. So the lamina propria is a fibroelastic, stretchy support layer. And then we move out to the muscularis layer. So muscularis or muscularis propria. And there are two layers of muscle here. I don't know if you can see that. But there's the layer of muscle closest to the lamina propria. Can you see that the muscles are running like that? The muscle fibers are running like that, and they've been cut through. So that's a longitudinal muscle running the length of the tube. Whereas if we slide further to the periphery, now we can see the muscle fibers running around. So these are the circular fibers running around the ureter, right? And then outside that we have the thin adventitia, which is staining very lightly here. I know that looks quite bright to you, but it is just very lightly stained. There's more connective tissue there. So the adventitia is the covering of the ureter, the connective tissue. We can see more blood vessels and fat and what have you here that the ureter has been dissected from. But that's it for the ureter. Slide back into the middle. So we've got the lumen, where we'll find the urine. We have the urothelium, a form of transitional epithelium, which is stretchy and forms a fantastic barrier between the urine and the body. We have the supportive lamina propria in green. We see lots of little blood vessels, and the nerves will be in there as well. And then we have 2 layers of muscle, the muscularis propria, and then we have the adventitia out there. But I know I'm biased. I think everything's pretty, but isn't that cool? Isn't that a cool shape? Difficult to imagine, I think, that microscopic anatomy if you just look at the gross anatomy. So worth looking at. It just rounds out your understanding. Kidney stones are... A kidney stone is a renal calculus, so minerals are precipitating out of the urine. So you dissolve some minerals and pass them into this urine collecting space, and if you have a lot of minerals with time, they can precipitate out, which is why it's often, if you had it once, you might have it again. Urolithiasis. Is that what it's called if you have kidney stones? Possibly. Something like that. I don't know, I just teach anatomy. But I hope that was interesting. The urothelium is really important. I did think about linking this up with the bladder, but of course I'd be here for 45 minutes as usual. We'll look at the bladder next week, which is a continuation of the urothelium. The other thing to consider about the urothelium are forms of cancer. We'll talk about that next week. But I hope that was interesting and pretty, and I'll see you next week.